Hello everyone. So today we'll try to recreate the skin tone shading of Mirko because this was requested by someone in the comments. I think I've seen these comments 2 or 3 times, so I decided let's do a video on it. So if the sound quality is different, I'm using a new mic which I got recently. You can say it was more like a Valentine's present for myself. But yeah, my last video was with a new mic and this one is with the new mic. So there might be a few ups and downs in the sound quality, and hopefully I'll be able to make it better because this is an objectively better mic, which is a lot more expensive than my previous one. And yeah, I'm hoping for better outputs from it. So let's see. My god, language fails me when I have to multitask. Okay, so initially, like when I start with the painting, like I had described in my video for Mirko, her skin tone, I would define it more as a chocolatey brown, which is, I would say it's comparatively easier to make because, okay, another thing before I continue with that point, I do not take any particular references for creating the skin tones. I just refer to, say, images from the anime itself or fan art or stuff like that. Many people like to take references from pictures of from actual images, like they try to reference it with real life, which is not how it works for me, because if I start doing that, I will spend way too much time in preparing the skin tone. I would be too concerned with how it looks and how accurate it is, which is not something I want to put too much time into, because then it takes away from the painting time. So yeah, most of the work I do is through simple observation. There is no particular formula for it. There is no step-by-step process or anything that I follow. It's all just intuition. So hopefully that comes through in this video and you're able to see. So for the base, like I had mentioned, I painted that figure from base up, which is the darkest tone first, followed by the lighter shades. Now, in order to prepare the darkest shade, we use these two browns. One is natural brown from Gaia Notes 014 and red brown, which is Gaia Notes 203. So I won't prepare a lot of paint because I am not actually painting anything right now, and of course keep your tissues handy. So I'll just prepare a little bit of it, and there we go, around 4 to 6 drops of natural brown. I keep forgetting the names. I'm honestly like people who can remember the names of shades and stuff. How do you do it? I cannot memorize the names of shades for the life of me. For some reason my brain just does not register it. I don't know, maybe it feels that it's not important enough. But yeah, I find it very difficult, which kind of makes it difficult when I have to explain it in a video that what shade of color I'm using. It becomes very difficult for me to convey what particular shade it is. So I have to always try to approximate. But yeah, so I generally try to be conservative. I think I got too much paint in this one, but I try not to add too much of the other brown, red brown, because it is I would say it is a strong color compared to, natural brown. So it affects the shade a lot. And of course, how can we forget our brush master thinner? Just a few drops, just enough to make the flow better. So yeah, so now here's the thing. I can tell you, like, basically I'll talk through this with state my thought process throughout this thing. So now you can see that we have prepared this paint, but the issue is it is still heavy on the red, which is not really, it's not really very accurate for a skin tone. So to balance that out, we add yellow. Let me mix it a bit, excuse me. So when you are younger and you have art classes at school, a basic thing they'll teach you is yellow and orange will give you skin tone, which is very true. I used to do that initially, like when I started off painting figures. I used to mix yellow and orange, but then I found out that brown is a better, or rather this particular brown, especially with Gaia notes, is far better compared to using orange, because it dulls the color down perfectly to the point where it kind of looks proper. Now here it is. So we have a little yellow, and generally what happens is with skin toning, you have to add white to make it a little lighter, because this is too dark as it is. Wait, maybe we can just demonstrate it with this random spoon from the convenience store. I mean, I don't use the spoons, so at least they'll be of some use. I should have applied primer to it. Hold on. Alright, so what I did is I added a layer of top coat. My top coat is matte finish, so it's easier, dries quickly compared to primer. Which actually you can use this technique with figures as well, but if you do that, you have to make sure that your base layer is dense, otherwise it won't look good. So now, oh god, it is mixing through. But either way, you get the gist. This is not really the best shade that I would use for skin toning, so I go in with white. Now this is an almost empty bottle of white. Like I said, I have mentioned this before, I literally drink the white paint. I use so much of it that it's ridiculous. I run through these bottles very quickly. Okay, so now this is, I would say, a comparatively more decent shade. As you can see, so the white does help balance out the color a little more. Like this one still looks a lot more red compared to what we have here. So I would say this is close enough to the base color. Like, I would prepare this in a little more quantity and then just airbrush the figure for the base paint. Now, once this is done, I have to wait for it to dry. I'll show it on my... Okay, so I'll leave it aside to dry. And now this thing, I want it to be a little more yellow. So just a bit. So once you're done with your base paint, it's more or less just about adding whites and yellows. Or if you are making a middle tone first, then it is about adding the natural brown paint to it. So that's all you have to worry about. Now, as you can see, this created a little different shade, and I think I like this one better. The red on the other two is still too heavy, so I'll go with this one. This happens sometimes, like I'm not happy with the shade and then I'll have to go back and change it. But in those cases, you just airbrush the thing again. Like, you don't need to remove the paint underneath. It just sits on top and doesn't really affect it as much. So that is something nice about lacquer based paints. Okay. So now my base paint was ready, so all I have to do is keep adding white till I am satisfied. And maybe a little bit of yellow just for some flavor, a little variation, you know. All right, well, I don't think this one needs any more yellow. Or maybe it does. So for the purpose of demonstration, I'm using an old brush which is almost on its deathbed. I'll be changing it. I've ordered new ones and they have arrived. They arrived yesterday. So this one will be set aside. So yeah, added a little more yellow because I felt that would look better. So this one did mix a little bit with its initial color, but still the result is nice. So this would generally be your middle tone, or if you want, you could add a little more white and, you know, emphasize on the difference between the two shades a little more. Let me see if I can do that. It's mostly about balancing the shades. Like if you can balance it, you would be good with like 2 layers. If not, then probably you'll need a third one or a fourth one. So it all depends. It comes down to what you prefer. This one is not dry yet. Okay, I'll just paint this here for now. But yeah, I believe it's not that light, so I'll probably add a little more white to it. But just a second, I think I should dry this one out first. The middle layer is too wet for my taste. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I hit it with the hair dryer a little bit, and I think we should be good to go. This is something you would want to take care of when painting your figure. That is, you need to apply the paint in a way that it does not affect the layer underneath it. At the same time, you have to make sure that you're not applying it in such a thick layer that it does not dry properly, and it leaves a mess behind. I don't know if you can see it, but there is wet paint here from the middle tone and it's refusing to dry out. And this one needs more white to it. White. Let's add a little more white. So if you decide to follow my advice and mix paints like this, you too should be prepared to use a lot of white. Because I don't follow any set guidelines, I do have to experiment a lot. So when you have to experiment a lot, you do end up using more color. And the tip of this brush is destroyed. Okay, so if you would notice, what happened now is my highlight is too bright, my base is dark enough, but the middle tone is just not noticeable. So when such things happen, you have to go back. And how do we go back? We add the base colors, which is natural brown and red brown. I will probably repeat these names so many times that by the end of this video I'll remember them. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and let's see what we get. Might end up needing more yellow, but that's... Oh, by the way, this process is far more easier when you are mixing more paint. This feels a little more complicated because I'm using such little amount of paint. But usually when you are preparing paint for a painting, it's in a higher quantity, so it's a lot easier to mix and figure out the correct shade. So rest assured, I am just playing around with colors here because of the quantity that I've mixed. you wouldn't have to go back and forth. Maybe you will, but that's another thing, that this is something that will improve with experience. As your experience in painting skin tones increases, you will figure out things a lot more easily. So now what did we do? We added the base paint and a little bit of yellow, because at the end of the day you have to remember that both the base colors have a little bit of strong red, so they will be comparatively more red. And yeah, here it is. There we go. Okay, this thing dried up in a layer. Painting mistakes you should not do, but then I don't think it'll actually come off as this kind of mistake when you're painting a figure. Yeah, this is slightly darker than the other shade, but this is what we end up with. Now if I want, I can make a few changes with the highlight layer as well, you know, just a little bit. Shift things around a bit just to make it a little more comfortable or better looking. Basically balance the shades. There you go. So that's that. If I want any more, I will just add more white to this paint that I currently have, and I'll have another highlight layer if I want to depict anything lighter than this. So yeah, now let me spray it with a top coat and let's see how it looks. So here we are with the final product. The top coat has been sprayed, but the issue remains that the base was too smooth. This is, at the end of the day, it's a spoon. If I wanted to paint it, I should have prepared the base better, because it kind of affects how the color reflects once you put it on. And second thing is, my layering on this one is too thick, so that adds to this kind of shine. And yeah, I don't know if all three layers are visible. Okay, there you go. You can see the three layers. We started from the base, then we moved to the middle tone, then we went to the highlight, then we realized that the middle tone was not really that mid, so we had to change it, and then we adjusted the highlight a little more to get what we have now. And I can just keep repeating this process. I can add more layers, whatever I want to, you know, make the figure look more aesthetically pleasing. So yeah, it's already 24 minutes. This is a long video. I did not expect that. I was hoping that this video would be like 5 to 10 minutes and we would be done, so you wouldn't have to sit and listen to me blabbering about these things for this long, but oh well. So there we are. We have 4 colors: white, yellow, red brown and natural brown, to create the skin toning for Mirko. This is what I used for the figures that I've painted till now. This is what I'll use in the figures in the future. any Mirko figure that I paint, this will all be the same. It will just be the ratio that will keep differing because I don't maintain any specific ratios. So I'll be playing around with the ratio to see what I like, and depending on that I will figure out what shade to use. And at the end of the day, it's always like you have to look at the figure and try to think if it's pleasing enough to your eye, if you're satisfied with the difference between two shades, if you are happy with the way the effect comes out, and if it satisfies you, then you're done. Like, that is the correct shade. If it doesn't, then you need to go back to your paints, mix more, and repaint. So that is the process I follow, and I can't really give you any shortcuts for it. Maybe there will be other experts out there who will tell you what exact colors to mix in what ratio to get a particular shade, and if that is what suits you, by all means go for it. But just not my style. I can't do that, so this is what I do. And yeah, so now that you know how I paint my figures, maybe you would like to give it a try. If you do, let me know in the comments. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask, and I'll probably make more videos about them. Yeah, so till the next video, bye bye.